podium space up here. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Aaron Ford, your Attorney General. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Aaron Ford, your Attorney General. My apologies for being late. Anyone who knows me knows I like to start things on time. I've been in back-to-back meetings since 10 a.m., and my last one just finished up. So, again, I'm Aaron Ford, your Attorney General. Thanks for being here. We planned to have this press conference last Wednesday, soon after our press statement went out, but our community was hit by tragedy. A murderer killed 3 professors and injured 1 at UNLV. 5 miles away from where we're standing, that atrocity happened, and we can't be numb to it. We're a community that understands what gun violence is, and we understand what a mass shooting is, and I wish we didn't. I wish nobody did. Our hearts and our prayers go out to families and the friends of these victims. They're part of the Nevada family, part of the Las Vegas family, and it is their loved ones, the victims of this tragedy, who will be remembered, not the murderer. We're a community that rallies behind each other, and we will rally here as well. Join me in a brief moment of silence. Thank you. So last Wednesday, my office announced the indictment of the 6 so-called fake electors on charges related to their attempt to disrupt the results of a free and fair election in 2020. These 6 defendants, Michael McDonald, Jesse Law, James DeGraffin Reed, James Hendel III, Sean Meehan, and Eileen Rice, have been charged with offering a false instrument for filing and uttering a forged instrument, which are categories C and D felonies, respectively. These charges are the culmination of a long and careful investigation into these actions taken in the aftermath of the 2020 election. Now, I know there's been some confusion as to when this investigation actually began, but some stand it started in November. That's inaccurate. We've been conducting this investigation for years to gather as many facts and as much evidence necessary to pursue justice. As you all undoubtedly know, I maintain a policy that my office neither confirms nor denies the existence of investigations. I do that to protect the integrity of any investigations and to ensure my staff can do their work to the best of their ability. This policy has meant that I was unable to discuss what our office was working on and working toward, as well as what we knew. I know it's frustrating sometimes, both to the media and to us, because you can't report as quickly as you would like to, and we can't discuss and sometimes correct erroneous facts that sometimes result in the vacuum that is the lack of information. But it is the best approach to ensure that our investigations and eventually our prosecutions are not tainted. That work and those precautions have manifested in the indictments we've announced. Although we have successfully obtained these indictments, this investigation remains ongoing. I therefore cannot comment further on the investigative components. But do let me address some other misconceptions out there. The first of which stems from legislative testimony that I gave earlier this year. As stated, this investigation has been open for years now. In fact, it was an open investigation in May of this year when I testified at the legislature on behalf of Senate Bill 133. That bill would have directly criminalized the actions of fake electors. During my testimony, I was purposefully precise with my wording because in my profession, words have meaning, and each word is to be given effect. So when I stated that no statute, and I quote, directly addressed the issue, that's precisely what I meant. That was true then, and it remains true now. There is no statute that directly addressed what Senate Bill 133 covered: fake electors. There is no statute that criminalizes attempting to pass yourself off as an elector when you are not one. Nor is there a statute that criminalizes fake elector schemes. Senate Bill 133 would have directly criminalized these actions. That's why I testified in support of it, to create a law that directly addressed the conduct in question. Senate Bill 133 passed, but it unfortunately was vetoed by our governor. So we still don't have a law that directly addresses fake electors. But having seen the conduct of these individuals, I thought, and I still think, it would serve the public interest to have a statute that specifically and directly criminalizes these actions. That's why I say no law directly addressed this situation, because in my estimation, it did not. What I did not say, however, was that there were no other generally applicable state statutes to address what these defendants did. Of course we do. But the fact that we have general laws that apply to conduct has never foreclosed the legislature from passing laws to specifically and directly address specific conduct. That's what I was advocating for. The fact is, we already had an open investigation into whether the elements of, for example, offering a false instrument for filing and uttering a forged instrument could be met. Based on evidence we already had, combined with our review and consideration of new evidence that continued and continues to come in, we were fortified in our belief that, in fact, we could meet those elements. And as you know, ultimately, we proceeded to indict on those theories. So, again, I hope this explanation puts this particular misunderstanding to rest. I'd also like to speak briefly about how long it took us to seek and to announce these indictments. Frankly, this issue is a lose-lose proposition for my office. I don't know how many of you have watched The Crown. It's a good show out on Netflix. It's called The Crown. I was watching an episode, I think it's in season 2, maybe episode 2, where there was a member of the cabinet speaking to the prime minister. And there's a line that the member said to the minister. He said, there is no justice in politics. There is no justice in politics. And that's an interesting phrase, because the truth is, it's a damned if I do, damned if I don't scenario here. Move quickly, and this office will be accused of rushing to judgment for political purposes. Take your time to secure sufficient facts and evidence to prove each and every element of a crime beyond a reasonable doubt, and be accused of delaying for political purposes. That's why my office ignores all that noise and all that nonsense and focuses on justice. Because while there may not be justice in politics, there's certainly justice in my office. And you've heard me say time and time and time again, our job is justice. That's what we do, that's what we focus on. That said, I know there are those who wish I had acted sooner, but as any good lawyer or investigator knows, you act at the exact pace you need to act. I don't value speed over thoroughness, especially when it comes to law and ensuring justice, and especially when it comes to such an important issue as fake electors. The only time frame of import to us has been the time that it took to ensure that we gathered sufficient facts and evidence to support each and every element of the crimes for which we would seek an indictment, period. Now, I fully expect partisan attacks as a response to these indictments, just as I received when some people thought that I wouldn't seek to hold these defendants accountable. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I don't make prosecutorial decisions based on public opinion or political persuasion, neither from those who agree with me nor from those who disagree with me. Our only considerations have been justice and the public interest, not partisans, politics, opinions, or pundits. In that regard, I want to commend my office's investigators and our prosecutors on the yeoman's work that they've done in obtaining the evidence and seeking this indictment. Some of those are here with me today. I want to acknowledge my chief prosecutor, who's actually in D.C. right now, presenting on a cold case that we prosecuted earlier this year, a 40-year-old cold case, and she's presenting on that right now in D.C. and couldn't be here. But I want to commend her in her absence. We also look forward to continuing the pursuit of justice as we prosecute the defendants in this action, as they've perpetrated, in my estimation, a grave offense against our state. I noted during my testimony for Senate Bill 133 that as long as I'm Attorney General, I'll never stop fighting against those seeking to undermine our elections. I will never stop fighting against those who seek to undermine our democracy. I meant it. So on December the 18th, the 6 Nevadans who've been indicted will be arraigned in the 8th Judicial District Court. They will have an opportunity to enter their plea at this time. And with that, I'm happy to take some questions, but I need to state beforehand that there will be several answers that I probably can't provide because we are now in active prosecution, and I have to follow my ethical guidelines and avoid trying this case in the media. However, since I have held this so close to my chest for so long, I thought it important to talk to you today, and as I've said, I'll take a few questions. Yes, sir.
You said at the beginning of your remarks that this investigation has been going on for years, but when exactly did your office open this investigation?
I couldn't give you an exact date from off the top of my head, but I can tell you it had been going on for at least a year when I testified in May. And in fact, if you review some of the grand jury testimony, you will see witnesses testify as to when we reached out to them.
It sounds like you did some political hurdles, especially with the governor's office and things like that. I asked what inroads have you been able to make with the governor's office or other offices like?
If I hear your question, you said, I'm sorry, I just speak a little louder.
You were mentioning some political hurdles when coming to this case. Can you mention any inroads that you were able to make with the governor's office or otherwise other political entities?
I've had no conversations with politicians from either party, the governor or otherwise, about this prosecution. I testified in support of Senate Bill 133 because, again, it would have directly addressed what we were facing here, which were fake electors. I still support that approach, and in the next legislative session, I'll likewise be advocating for that as well. And so that's the response I can provide.
Do you hope that indicting Nevada's fake electors will stop them from continuing to try and undermine the integrity of Nevada's election in the 2024 election cycle?
So the question was, do I hope that prosecuting these indictments is going to stop people from doing this in the future, essentially?
Yeah.
Yes, I hope so.
You mentioned the length of this investigation. I guess, why bring these charges now? What changed?
Nothing changed. As I've indicated, what we've been endeavoring to do is ensure that we have enough facts and evidence to support every element of the crimes that we sought an indictment on and will be prosecuting. Every element. And I'm on no one's time frame at all. There's a statute of limitations. That's the only time frame that I guess that really matters. But what we've been doing is investigating, and we are now at a point to where we've been able to procure these indictments, and we will be proceeding with the prosecution.
General Ford, during the 2023 session, when you were testifying on SB 133, it seemed that your office had looked at the statutes that form the basis of the indictment and had debated them internally and decided that a prosecution under those statutes wouldn't be feasible because of certain factors, including one factor which was that it's never been used against someone who's filed with a federal office. What changed from then to now?
Again, there's really been no change, Steve. We have been investigating these particular crimes and trying to ensure that we had the facts and evidence to support every element of these crimes, and that's been an ongoing endeavor. We have been receiving new evidence even up until this very moment. That will be very helpful. I won't be able to discuss the evidence. Let me force all that question right now. But at the end of the day, we have just continued the work of this office, which is to pursue justice. And in order to do that, you have to have the facts and evidence to support a claim.
You said about new evidence. case of the grand jury that you didn't know in the wake of the meeting of these electors?
I wouldn't be able to tell you the evidence that we have. We're going to be prosecuting this case, Steve, and unfortunately, I won't be able to provide any responses in that regard. I saw some questions back here, and then I'll come up here, okay? Yes, sir.
I want to ask about the time frame. There are going to be people who say this is politically motivated, that this is going to, or it's meant to affect the outcome of the 2024 election. First off, I guess, what do you have to say to those people who have those concerns?
Well, it's not true. And as I've indicated, there's no justice in politics. People are going to say what they want to say. And I cannot, and we do not operate in our office based on the perceptions of other folks. We have to do what we think is right and just, and we're pursuing this, and we are confident in our prosecution.
Just a quick follow-up. Do we have a time frame in when this could go to trial, or when we expect to have some sort of verdict?
Not yet. The arraignment is going to be a week from yesterday, and we'll go from there. A couple questions here. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any difference in Nevada's case versus the other states that had similar cases as to justify why it took longer than the other states did?
I don't feel compelled to justify the length of my investigation. My prosecutors and my investigators have worked diligently to ensure that we have facts and evidence to support the elements, every element of the crimes we're prosecuting. Again, we're on no one else's time frame, and we're not comparing our case to any other state. We're comparing our case to state statutes and evidence that we have, and we're confident that the evidence that we have received, we're confident in an indictment, and we're going to be confident in our prosecution. Yes, sir.
Similarly to that question, attorneys general in other states, of course, have brought forward charges against so-called fake electors in their states under statutes related to forgery and such. Did that decision in those states influence your office's decision to pursue those charges here, or has that always kind of been on the table?
The answer to your first question is no. I don't, again, compare this case to cases of other states. Different states have different laws, different predicate offenses, different statute of limitations, and I don't concern myself with what's happening elsewhere. My concern is Nevadans and justice here in our state, and that's why we're pursuing it at this juncture. Your second question, I don't remember. It was the second part of that compound question, but okay. Couple more questions, and then we're going to call it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Steve. I got it. Let me go over here because you spoke a couple times.
Question, we just want to confirm, so the arraignment for this indictment is a week from Monday?
It's going to the 18th, December 18th. Yeah.
And then also, can you give any details just into the 6 people that are being indicted? Any more information besides their names?
No. I mean, the names is all I'll be able to provide at this juncture.
So in the
And then I'll go to you, sir.
utterance of a false instrument statute, there's a language that specifies that it has to be a knowing violation of the intent to commit fraud. I assume because you got this grand jury indictment, you're confident that you can prove that element of the crime that was knowing and willful fraud. Given that these defendants are very likely to raise the objection and the defense that they were relying on the advice of counsel in doing what they did, how confident are you that you're being able to overcome that?
We're very confident. And again, we take our time in these investigations to ensure that we can meet every single element of the crimes that we've sought indictments on and will be prosecuting. The evidence that we've obtained, the work, the yeoman's work of my investigators and of my prosecutors, I'm confident that our prosecution is on solid footing. Last question here.
One of the Trump campaign's lawyers, Kevin Chesbrough, was in the grand jury transcripts, but why wasn't he charged?
I won't be able to speak to that. He's on our witness list, as you saw in the indictments, but I won't be able to speak to that. And with that, thank you so much, everybody.